Hi guys, Serena here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to review the book The Creative License by Daniel Gregory. It's one of the really best books I've found for encouragement when you're drawing or sketching. And since I've lately gotten into, I guess you'd call it urban sketching, I'm sketching whatever I can find around. Anything around the house, anything where I'm out and about. I'll sit down, while I'm waiting for the laundry, and I'll sketch it. I've found his book to be very helpful in that. So join me today, and we'll take a closer look. Well, I've stacked all that pile of wood. Now I just have cleanup to do, but the wood is all put away. We're all ready for the winter. The potatoes are nearly ready to dig. They're not quite ready. I still see some that are green, but most of them, the vines have flopped down and are turning brown, which is an indication that they're ready to be dug. Now, we've had a bit of a deer problem, so I've had to put this black mesh on top of them so the deer would not eat the tops. But it's time to pull that off and let them ripen. Unfortunately, the weather has been either so hot and humid, or it's been raining so much that I have not been able to do anything with the garden in terms of thinning it out, and now it's really overgrown. So I've got my work cut out for me once the weather gets a little cooler. I saw this book on Amazon, and I was able to try the preview view, how you can look inside. I love those because then you can really get a good idea of what you're buying. It's not just like you're buying a book and you don't know what it is. It's more like looking in a bookstore. So you get that little preview, but he's got a lot of great ideas in this book, and that's why I picked it up. Now, I kind of went through a few of the things that I wanted to highlight in my review. I always want to show the table of contents because sometimes those previews don't show you a table of contents and you don't really know what you're getting. But I love the little sketches that he's got. He does these lovely little drawings in ink and then he colors them in with wash, with watercolor wash. But I'll go through the book real quickly here. He's got these wonderful illustrations which I really like. Look at that beetle, isn't that great? Now, he writes the text. It's actually written, handwritten, and printed. But, sometimes it's a little bit hard to make out, so you have to take a little more time. But he's being very creative with that. He tells you a bit about his story, why he did what he did, why he got into sketching. And the first part of the book is actually a tutorial. So he gives you these lessons. If you don't know anything about sketching, anybody can do it. And he gives you these lessons. Like your first one is to draw a chair, draw a mug, draw a table, draw a person. And, just the basics. He goes over some of the materials that you might use. Any pen, any paper. He doesn't make it overcomplicated, which is nice. And he goes through these different exercises that he tells you to do, which help you visualize things. Now, here's a really important concept, the concept of negative spaces. And this is a very good illustration of that, how you want to focus on the space around an object, not the object itself. It trains your brain to think as an artist, really. And I actually did a YouTube video discussing this. I'll link it down below or link it up in the top here, if I remember at the end of this, so that you can refer to that one about improving your art. But he goes on to give you some different exercises. Here's one on proper proportion and relationships. So that's another concept in drawing. If you can grasp those little concepts, you're well on your way. He's illustrated these these concepts throughout the book. Look at this point. Please do waste art materials. I love that because we as creative people or artists often don't want to ruin something. We have something very nice and we just don't want to, brand new journal, oh, it's so beautiful, it's pristine, this is going to be great. And you don't want to make that first mark, because if it's wrong, you'll ruin the whole journal. And that sets the tone for the whole journal also. You can have 40 pages that are beautiful, and then you have one page that's really awful. And if it's not one of those journals that you can rip out that's perforated, you feel just terrible about it because you've ruined the journal. So he really makes a point of not worrying about wasting your materials. That's how you're going to learn. Your mistakes are going to make you less mistakes down the road. Here's a concept, but I don't have time to draw, and he gives you these little blurbs about it. Stay up an extra 10 minutes, one drawing, get up 10 minutes early, one drawing, draw during commercials, 6 drawings per hour. You really don't realize how many commercials are on TV, but yes, that's true. I couldn't quite do a drawing like this one in 10 minutes. He's great. He does it all the time. He's been practicing for a long time, and he can do it. I can't do that. That would take me about an hour to do if I did the drawing and did the wash to paint it in. So I'm hoping I get better at it, but his point is there's always a time and a place to do them. Just kind of fit them in wherever you can. Here's some little reminders I like. He says, make each page in your journal an exercise in composition. And that's true. You should kind of think about it before you plan it out, before you start your first picture. If it's one thing like a landscape or someone's, a portrait, something like that, it's going to be the whole page. But oftentimes you'll draw little vignettes of different things. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so this is something from my journal that, my handmade journal that I made out of a big, huge sheet of watercolor paper, Fabriano Artistico watercolor paper. But I was at the laundromat and I just did this quick sketch. It took about as long as it did to do the wash. So it took about 25 minutes, 20 minutes, and then I came home and colored it in. That was actually the color of the sink. Why someone colored their sink like a cobalt blue, I don't know. It looks really weird, but that's what they did. And, it didn't take much thought. I kind of drew the rolling basket first, and then I had some space here. I drew the sink and the paper towel holder, and I said, well, what am I going to put over here? And I kind of did that as an afterthought. And then this was empty, so I put the clock in there. The clock was actually in a different place, but I put it above the dryers. And then I had an empty space here. I said, well, what else goes with washing day? Detergent. So I put that there. And then I kind of filled in that empty spot with a little doodle of lettering. Not that you need to know what it is, but I just played around. So it made it a little bit pulled together, but I didn't plan it in advance. So planning it in advance might help out. Now, the author, Daniel Gregory's background is in commercial art. He did that professionally. So if you're into commercial art or you're a graphic artist, you are going to automatically think in terms of composition. That's what you do all day. So maybe easier for him, but something for us to all keep in mind. And good point. I'm glad he put that in his book. He's got over here, remember, writing is drawing. So he's talking about the different typefaces and different styles of lettering that are also adding to the artistic quality of your journals. And speaking of journals, all I could say to this was, wow. I will never get to this point. Look at how many he's got. It's nice that he was able to use the same journals all throughout. It kind of gives a uniformity to it. He probably found the journal that he likes to work with. I'm still experimenting, so I've got a mishmash of different types of journals that I bought commercially and that I'm making. So I'm going to have different sizes and shapes and colors and so forth. It won't look as nice as this, but doesn't that make you want to just grab one of his books and sit down in an easy chair and just flip through it and see what he drew. I would love to do that. I would love to just kind of go in his house and take them off the shelf and look at them. But all through here, he gives you so much inspiration, so many ideas. You know, he talks about mistakes here. And again, the more mistakes you make, the less mistakes you're going to make. So drawing is the practice. It is the act of learning as you go. So don't be afraid to make those mistakes. Don't be afraid to ruin your journal. Look at this journal. I love this. I wonder if they still make them like this. Look at that nice spiral bound. That would be great because you can lay it flat and you can also flip it backwards on itself. And you have that format. Whereas this type of journal, I find this to be a little bit awkward. When I'm trying to draw, I'm trying to draw here, and it's wanting to flop on accordion itself, and unaccordion is a word, come apart. You know, it's very hard to work with, and I can't flip it back on itself and work. It doesn't work that way, so I find it very awkward. I think the next one I make, this was a handmade one, as I said, I think the next one I make is going to be in portrait form. I'll just make the cuts a little bit different, and it will fold in portrait form, in book form, rather than landscape. It's too awkward, but I love that idea, and I wonder if they still make them. I'm going to see if I can find some next time I'm in the market for a journal. Here's something he puts in here, 1,000 things to draw. I mean, 10 pieces of a broken cookie, 10 manhole covers, 10 hydrants, a plate of spaghetti, each component of a sandwich individually, then assembled. I mean, everything you can draw, even the most mundane thing. If you have nothing else, draw your feet. I mean, all of it is exercise. All of it helps you and trains your mind, trains your eye, trains your hand to work and to work together. That's the whole point. When you're sketching and drawing, you want to make your drawings better. You really have to combine those things. You really have to make everything work together to come out with a really good drawing. You can't be missing any one piece of that puzzle. But, I mean, he puts in all these examples from other artists, too, other journal writers or drawers. It's just a really nice book, and he's got some really nice incentives in here just to kind of give you that encouragement that you need sometimes. I find this book is just really nice. See, he's got more creative outlets to consider. And these are just like, you can imagine he just sat down and thought of everything he could think of. Fabric painting, filmmaking, fine cabinetry, flash animation, gardening, gift wrapping, glass etching, glazing, gouache, graphic design, guitar. I mean, just anything off the top of his head that is creative. It's all creative, and it all helps you with your drawing. It expands your horizons and helps you, when you do sit down and draw, to be able to do it more efficiently and more creatively. This has just been one of those books that I haven't finished reading yet, but I can see I'm going to read it and do some of the exercises, and then it's one of those books that you go back to again when you need some inspiration, when you're stuck for what to do. In fact, I had an idea. I thought I would do a list similar to the one you just saw, either in the front or the back of my next journal, and I'm just going to brainstorm things that I can draw. My feet, the table, you know, a view out the window. Just go down the list and just list all of them. Then I have them in my journal, and I can go to the back of the journal, if I put it in the back, and say, I don't know what to draw today. Just go down the list and say, okay, I'll do that. There's an idea. And it makes it so much easier when you get stumped, because you're not wasting your energy trying to think of, okay, well, what am I going to do today? What am I going to draw? And one of the comments I wanted to bring up was, as I'm reading this book, it's so inspiring. I can't read a page or two before I put it down and start drawing. It's that inspirational. I really love it. And that's that. So this is The Creative License by Daniel Gregory. He does have other books out. I saw it in the front here. They list his other books. He's got Hello World, Everyday Matters, and Change Your Underwear Twice a Week. That's kind of indicative of the tone of the book. He's very humorous. It's fun to read. It's very enjoyable. I really love this book. I hope you'll give it a try. I hope you enjoyed this video also. Give it a thumbs up, make sure to like it, and subscribe. I will see you next time.